Guys, here's our new unit is animal behavior, and I really love this unit. I love animals, and I think it's just really interesting. So we're going to be doing a lot of different things in this unit, talking about how animals learn, how we learn, and also other different kinds of behavior things. So I'm going to try to get through both. There's two sections of notes, but I'm going to try to get through them at one time. I have 15 minutes. So animal behavior, our learning targets, we're going to explain why behaviors in animals are important, describe and give an example of an innate behavior, and just describe and give an example of a learned behavior. Okay? So behavior is the way an organism reacts to the stimuli in the environment. So it's a reaction to any stimulus in the environment. It could also be an internal stimulus, so it could also be something that's inside our bodies. Okay, they're essential to survival and help an animal find and catch food, select habitats, avoid predators, and find mates. So when we think of things that are essential for survival, food is number one, staying alive, avoiding your predators, and finding mates. And all of these are done using behaviors for that animal. Okay, so we have here the deer fighting for a mate. This is also a courting dance of the blue-footed booby, so he's dancing for her as a mating ritual. Behaviors can be inherited or learned. Okay, if a behavior makes it easier for an animal to survive and reproduce, it can also be spread through a population by natural selection. So if it has a genetic component, generally that means it makes it easier for that animal to survive and reproduce. And then natural selection can act on it just like it can act on any other gene. Okay, innate behavior. We also call them instincts. Okay, they're things that we're born knowing how to do. We don't learn, shouldn't say we, it's not a learned behavior. Okay, it's not something that's learned through experience. Okay, so puppies sucking on their mother's mother for milk. Okay, there's a sucking reflex in all newborns, even in human infants. Spiders spinning a web, that would be an innate behavior. They are essential for survival, and they are so important that they are embedded in the DNA. They're not learned. So examples would be suckling babies, spiders spinning webs, birds building nests often. Sometimes there are things that are innate, like a bird having the urge to sing, but the actual song itself is learned. So sometimes there's innate and learned behaviors. So a learned behavior allows us to adapt to unpredictable events, and it allows us to adapt to different experiences in a lifetime. So we can change behavior when it's learned. Okay, it's very hard to change an innate behavior, okay, because it's controlled by your DNA. There's four major types: habituation, classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and insight learning, and we're going to talk about both of those, all four of those separately. Okay, so habituation is the simplest type of learning. It's when an animal stops or decreases a response to a stimulus that doesn't reward or harm it. So it starts to ignore a stimulus that isn't rewarding it or harming it. If it's not good or bad, it's going to be ignored. It allows them to spend time and energy more efficiently. So an example could be birds on the side of a road take flight when a car approaches. After a while, when they realize that the car is not going to hurt them when they're on the side of the road, they no longer fly away when a car comes. The same could be true for the scarecrow. Okay, so the scarecrow originally, when it comes, scares the crows away. But after a while, the birds start to ignore the scarecrow because it's not actually harming them or helping them. Classical conditioning is when there's a certain stimulus that produces a particular response. Usually Usually it's associated with a positive or it could be a negative experience. So an example would be Pavlov's dogs. And what Pavlov did, Pavlov is he actually was a psychologist, I believe. He rang a bell when feeding a dog. And as he fed the dog, he noticed that the dog was drooling in response to food. Okay, so he started to ring the bell whenever he fed the dog. And eventually, even if he didn't present food, if he rang the bell, the dog would start drooling. Okay, that was a conditioned response. Okay. The same can happen with trauma. So if you have something bad happen to you, let's say I think of my daughter. She ate a whole bag of cotton candy one time. And so then she got sick from eating that cotton candy. So now every time she eats cotton candy, she sees cotton candy, she feels sick. Okay, so that could also be a form of classical conditioning. Okay, so here's a picture of Pavlov's dogs. You see the food, the dog drools. Okay. Normally, before the dog is conditioned, there's a bell that's rung, or a whistle in this case, that's blown. There's no response. Okay. But if we add that bell while we feed the dog's going to drool. Eventually, even without the food, if we ring that bell, the dog will drool as well. Okay. Operant conditioning is when an animal learns how to behave using rewards or punishments. So I always think of it like training. It often is learned by trial and error. And the Skinner box is an example, and I'm going to show you the Skinner box in a second. So we have reinforcement behavior. So when we add a pleasant stimulus, we want to increase that behavior. So let's say a child, I shouldn't say a child, but let's say a child is getting potty trained, okay? And so when I potty trained my daughter, she had a reward chart and with stickers. Okay, so she got a sticker every time that she went potty on the toilet. Okay, so that would be a reinforcement behavior, positive. Punishment, so on the other hand, if it would be something negative happening. So let's say my daughter does not go potty, she goes potty in her diaper. Then let's say she gets a sticker taken away. That would be a punishment. Okay, that's meant to decrease behavior. The Skinner box was kind of interesting. So what he did, I think he used pigeons, but we could use a rat as well. And inside this box, they had put the animal. There's a recording device. There's a little food dispenser and water. Okay. And then there was a little bar. And for the food to be dispensed, the bar had to be pushed down, or the lever. Okay. So originally, when this animal started, they would push the lever by accident, and they'd eventually learn that pushing this lever would give them food. Okay, that would be operant conditioning. Another form of operant conditioning could be your cell phone. So if you think about every time that you get a notification that is a positive, probably a positive stimulus, then it's going to make you want to pick up your phone every time that you get a notification. Insight learning is the most complicated type of learning. It applies knowledge to a new situation, so it's what you think of when you think of learning. And it's mostly in humans and primates, so animals that have large brains can do this insight type of learning. So an example could be that we have a monkey here who's trying to reach the banana. Well, he can't reach it, okay? When he stacks on the boxes and steps on it, because he learned how to do that in a different experience, then he could reach the bananas. Okay, so he's using what he's learned prior to this point to be able to reach the bananas. Or in this case, he used a tool. Complex behaviors combine innate and learned behaviors, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. One type is called imprinting, and when baby birds are born, the first object that moves, that they see moving, is what they'll follow. Okay, so usually that's going to be their mothers, but not always. They've had baby birds imprint on people. They've had baby birds imprint on other animals. I think they even had them imprint on like a ball one time because it was moving when it was the first thing the baby birds saw when they were born. So imprinting just means they'll then follow that object. All right, so for review, you guys can write these down in your notes. How does natural selection affect animal behavior? What are innate behaviors and why are they important? And what are the 4 types of learning? Give an example of each. You're going to need to be able to identify those 4 types of learning. I'm going to start a new video here because I'm kind of running out of time to do our second portion here. So I'll be back soon.